Very good morning to all of you. Welcome to the Medical Legal Conclave of Akriti. Akriti is a group of 18 friends who wants to do something different, not only sitting in a kitty and eating and chatting. In that way, the Akriti has come in front of you with the breast saga 6 months back, and today here we are with the Medical Legal Conclave, which is today is the burning topic for all of us. We are wearing a sari which is not white. Why? Because the white color of a doctor is become red with the blood of red and become little bit dirty with the why? Who is at fault? Whether we or the society? I think somewhere us, because we don't go to the society and tell our part. Because of that, today's the Medical Legal Conclave is bridging the gap with the society, with the lawmaker, with the policy makers. And my request to each of you, very much in time, very crisp message to everyone. And the extra talking is a main culprit. What you talk unnecessary in front of the patient, what your staff talk, and this sometime take you to the court. So learn here first thing to give the crisp message, precise message, follow the protocols, follow the SOP, and document everything.
Esteemed faculty and guests at the dais, Mr. Amod Muktaji. As we all know that role of documentation is being stressed by our esteemed guests, and we at Delhi Medical Council, we are just to share that we received around 45 complaints per month. That means 1 to 2 complaints per day we are receiving, and unfortunately gynae ops is at the number 1. We are receiving the most number of complaints against the ops and gynae people, and role of documentation is very, very important. So I will talking on the medical certificate issue, because every doctor, whether it is a MBBS, MD medicine, ops gynae people, will come across issue of the medical certificates. What is the medical certificate? An official document confirming the state of someone's health written at the behest of administrative, judicial, or request of person himself. That means any of the hospital board can ask you to for that matter, or police can ask for that medical certificate or fitness, or person can himself ask for that. I will brief you on the salient points which are of importance to all of us. First of all is, it is a legal document. We are issuing the medical certificate. In the medical certificate, there is bottom, there is written that this certificate is not valid for legal purposes, not for any document signed by a doctor, whether on a piece of plain paper, whether with a stamp, whether without stamp, whether on a prescription pad. Once it reaches a statutory body, it becomes a legal document, whether it is a state medical council or court or police. So medical certificate is a legal document at all. Just to ignore that misnomer that not valid for medical legal purposes or court purposes. Any false certificate or any fabrication will lead to your civil, criminal, disciplinary, and fraud action. You can be liable for civil also, criminal also, and of course disciplinary action by the state medical council can be taken against you if you are issuing a fake or forged medical certificate. Foremost is identify the patient to whom you are issuing the medical certificate, because most of the time we have come across that the medical certificate, some person came with the identity of some person claiming him that he is such and such person, and we issuing the medical certificate. So just before issuing the medical certificate, try to identify that person to whom you are issuing the medical certificate with a Aadhaar code or something like that. Then physical presence of the patient is must. Without physical examining, you should not issue the medical certificate. In one of the recent case, we have taken action against a doctor. The person was in the jail, and doctor issues 3 medical certificates to that person, saying that he requires surgery, then he requires, he will be admitted under him. He was an anesthetist, claiming himself in the medical certificate that he will operate that person. So we have removed that name for. Then of course when this came for the disciplinary committee, we have different issues with that. Police personnel, special cell of the Delhi police sent us that. So we have to be very careful that without physical examination, you should not issue a medical certificate. Medical certificate should be issued based on the facts and observation known to the doctor. It should not be based on the history provided by the doctor, because history provided by the patient may be the subjective. He will say that he was suffering from fever or suffering from headache. So you have to be careful based on the facts and observation known to the doctor from the history and from the physical examination. And in the medical certificate, nature and duration of illness should be mentioned. Severity of illness, if there is any disability or limitation, should be mentioned on the medical certificate. If you are able to come to the diagnosis, it should be mentioned on the medical certificate itself. One important thing, it should be prospective in nature, and be careful to submit a medical certificate which is sometimes patient came that he was suffering from fever for the last 15 days or so. Now he has come to, he want medical certificate for 15 days before that. So don't issue such kind of certificate if you are not sure about his history or physical examination there. As far as the duration is concerned, because at Delhi Medical Council we have issued the guidelines for issuing the medical certificate, in which we have clear-cut mentioned that duration should be 15 days. Because after 15 days, if the patient needs more rest, he should be examined, and then you can provide the medical certificate. Not that the patient relative came to you that you have done a surgery, and after, because you should know what the patient is at the moment, whether he requires medical rest or not. Because ultimately the medical certificate is the domain of the doctor, and no court, no police, no judge can issue the medical certificate. Has to be provided to the doctor, and we issue the medical certificate just for obliging our friends, relatives, and landed up in trouble. One more thing is that you have to, the medical certificate should be serially numbered, and keep a copy of the medical certificate for documentation, because most of the time now it is a trend for the last 2 to 3 years or so, we are getting number of complaints against the doctor for issuing the medical certificate from the court itself, from the police, and from different authorities, government authorities. So you should keep a copy of the medical certificate for proper documentation. Once it reaches the court, you have to be prepared for that. Medical certificate, it should be legible, it should be on the letterhead, and no overwriting. Avoid abbreviations or medical jargons on the medical certificates. Do not cross the specialty boundary. Here I am telling you, do not cross the specialty boundary, because one of the gynecologists, qualified gynecologist, maybe she is here or not, I don't know, issued a medical certificate to a known person claiming that he was suffering from angina, advising rest for 15 days, and that medical certificate unfortunately went to a court. Court summons that lady doctor, and ultimately, I am not going the story, ultimately the court direct Delhi Medical Council to file a complaint under section 27 of Delhi Medical Council Act, because at the time of issuing the medical certificate she was not registered. Her registration was invalid because of non-renewal. So court ultimately, after every fortnightly or so, court asking us different questions, because in that particular lady told in the court that she is a non-practicing doctor. She uses the term as non-practicing. She is a non-practicing doctor. Then judge asked us, Delhi Medical Council, what is the term as non-practicing doctor? We automatically told that there is no term as non-practicing doctor, whether she is a registered doctor or non-registered doctor. Ultimately, because her registration was not valid at the time, that court equated that lady doctor with a quack and asked Delhi Medical Council to file complaint under section 27 of Delhi Medical Council Act, which is a cognizable and non-valuable offence, for 3 years imprisonment with fine of 20,000 or both. And ultimately that lady used different resources from all the quarters. Then we requested court that now she has registered, kindly these criminal liability should be pardoned, and we will take a disciplinary action. And of course, we take a disciplinary action against the lady for remove her name. So don't cross the specialty boundary. That is be professional in your certificate, because we have come across in the certificate that that such and such person require home food only, because that person has been transferred to some other state, and they just to please that to our known person, we are writing that he requires a home food only, or such kind of things. So be professional in your certificate. Avoid writing humanitarian basis, like very nice person or home food only, or such kind of things we are noticing in the medical certificate itself. Never give contrary medical certificate. Some of the time it is seen that a physician had given medical certificate for such and such duration from such and such disease. Patient requires more rest. He went to another doctor and show that, and doctor changed the diagnosis, and of course then enhance that medical certificate. So be particular. Never give contrary medical certificate if any person has issued the. Do not temper the medical. That is very, very important. If there is tampering in the medical certificate, you are liable for criminal action directly, whatever the reason may be. So two things which are important in the medical certificate. One is about the patient, another about the doctor. From the patient point of view, signature of the patient, if the patient is not able to put his signature because of illiterate, so thumb impression should be there, and identification mark of that patient should be on the medical certificate itself. As I told you, but before that you have to identify that person that you are, for whom you are issuing the. From the doctor point of view, doctor's name, signature, qualification and registration number on the medical certificate should be there. Medical certificate is equated with it can be taken the evidence in the court of law, where it is certificate needs to be produced, submitted to the court to be testified by the doctor under oath, should withstand the scrutiny of the cross examination of the court of law. Judges on the face of it takes up the medical certificate, but the other counsel, if requires cross examination, you should be prepared that you will be examined, cross examined by that particular lawyer in that particular case. Then liabilities about the ethical and legal. There are only two. Ethical are section 1.3.3 and section 7.7 of Indian Medical Council regulations, and legal is section 197 and 193. I'll just brief. Section 1.3.3 of regulation 2002 told that a registered medical practitioner shall maintain a register of medical certificate giving full details of certificate issued. When issuing a medical certificate, he shall always enter the identification mark of the patient and keep a copy of that. These are the regulations. You have to maintain that. There is no compromise on that. Then he shall not omit to record the signature and thumb impression, address, or at least one identification mark of the patient in the medical certificate of the report, which I have already mentioned in our point. Then from section 7.7 of IMC regulation 2002, which said that if their certificate is found to be forged, your name can be deleted from the medical register. That is very, very important. And we have taken action against the doctors for that matter, because if you are treating the patient in an ethical way, there is no issue at all. Whether if informed consent, as already told by our esteemed panel, because if you have told the patient about that, told the patient about the prognosis, surgery, alternative, informed consent means that you have to tell the patient about the procedure, about the alternative benefits, contraindication, whatever the thing is required, you should inform the patient. And if you have informed the patient, if a complication occurs, you have told the patient about that such and such complication can occur, and you are treating the patient in an ethical way, even if the death occurs, because if you are informed consent is there, proper documentation is there, your harassment can be there, but conviction against you will not be there from the court or from the state medical council if we are following this nice way. Then from the legal point of view, like these are, if you are able to, if you are issuing a false or fake certificate, or if there is a tampering of the certificate, or there is a mistake in the certificate because of omission or commission, you are liable for a civil or criminal action. Legal action, section 197 of IPC and section 193 of IPC, which are available. Section 197 says that whosoever issues or signs any certificate required by law to be given or signed relating to any fact of which such certificate is by law admissible in evidence, knowing or believing that such certificate is false in any material point, shall be punished in the same manner as he gave false evidence. Because honorable judges are there, but it will be taken as you are creating a false evidence. You are liable for action. And what action can be there? Section 193 about that action, punishment for false evidence. It will be equated as punishment for giving the false evidence in the court. Whosoever intentionally give false evidence in any stage of a judicial proceeding or fabricates false evidence for the purpose of being issued in any stage of judicial proceeding shall be punished with an imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 7 years and shall also be liable to fine. So be careful while issuing the medical certificate, क्योंकि हम अपने दोस्तों को, रिश्तेदारों को ओब्लाइज करने के लिए एक मेडिकल सर्टिफिकेट, तो हमारा पीस ऑफ पेपर हमारा को जा ही नहीं रहा, बिकॉज वी आर नॉट गिविंग समथिंग. सो बी प्रिपेयर्ड that state medical council, national medical commission or courts can ask for giving the evidence. Thank you very much, sir.